Hello Palians! Are you struggling to decorate your farm areas in the game? Well, if so, today's video will hopefully help you out and give you a little bit of inspiration to make your farm areas a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. If you want more Palia design ideas, more general news, and just Palia content in general, don't forget to like and also subscribe. But here are the farms. So the first farm I want to show you uses all 9 plots, however they are separated out into rows of 3. Now this obviously does mean you may lose some of your farming bonuses, but if you're a player who is more concerned about the appearance of your plot than those extra crops, this design could work for you. What I have done is I have placed 2 rows of 3 along the side, and then you have 1 row at the back. With these, I decided to add a little extra space at the rear of the plots just to get some flowers in, so you have a bit of a backdrop when your crops are growing, and this also allows for a bit of colour. I also wanted to use the fencing just to enclose the plot areas themselves to make it feel a bit more farm-like. There are also a few trees placed down, but I do think that if I was going to do this fully, I would definitely place down a lot more trees just to kind of separate off the whole farm area, maybe from the rest of your plot if that's what you wanted. Because of the way this area is shaped, it has allowed for a decent amount of space in the middle, where I have tried to carry over all of those flowers from the plots and place down a pergola just to create a little seating area. And I also added the bonsai tree because I think it worked really nicely with all of the colours here. If you're wanting to do a bit more of a rustic kind of vibe to this, you could definitely have like a workspace here, maybe put down a little bit of a shed or something of that nature. But because to me this feels quite symmetrical, I decided to try and stick with more of an elegant vibe to this whole area. For the pathing, I did choose the round stone pavers, but I think most of the different options would look good here. I also do like this design because if you want to connect it to different areas on your plot, there are a few different kind of avenues that you can lead off your pathways so it can connect really nicely. So there we have it, that is farm number 1. For my next farm design area, I wanted to try and incorporate the grow all out furniture, so I decided to go for a little bit of a spring meadow inspired farm area. Now this is just a little bit of a snapshot, as it would have taken me forever to kind of design all 9 plots. But if you wanted to use this idea, you could definitely expand it and make it nice and big for your whole kind of farm area. It would take up quite a lot of space, but I definitely think it would be worth it. When placing the plots, I decided to separate them out totally, and I've placed them in a bit more of a random fashion so it isn't symmetrical and it does have that kind of feeling of it being in a meadow and slightly more overgrown. I wanted to do this so it would have a nice little snaking path through the plots as well, and it allows me lots of space to get items like flowers and the grow all out furniture in to really make it feel like a meadow. As for the grow all out furniture, it is obviously yellow, white and green, so I really wanted to keep that colour theme in my flower choice and the furniture, such as the fencing. I really do wish there was more furniture options with this colourway in the game though. The white is just so pretty, and the yellow just feels more vibrant than some of the other colour options that we have. You may have noticed that I've not placed long lines of fences here, and that is because, as I said earlier, I didn't want it to feel too organised, and I thought that if I had done that it would definitely feel more structured. So what I've done is add a few bits of fencing here and there to help break up the background a bit, and also it still adds some lightness to the area because it is obviously that white colour. There is also a little seating area at the front which I just wanted to add to fill up the space a little bit more, and obviously use some more of that gorgeous grow all out furniture. I honestly wasn't sure about this one when I first started creating it, but it was definitely a trust the process sort of build, and I quite liked the way that it turned out in the end. For number 3, I wanted to do a whole grid kind of style where you have different individual plots but more symmetrical, more lined up, so that is what I've done here. This does only use 8, but if you're like me, maybe you want to have a farming plot elsewhere, because I have an apple tree farming plot dedicated for my tree house, so maybe you don't want to have all of your farming plots in one space, and that's absolutely fine too. Obviously you could even make this smaller if you wanted to. I've really tried to make it kind of neat, and for this I wanted to do a bit more of an autumnal feel to it, so I've used the terracotta coloured pavers. I've not used these yet, so this was a great opportunity to use them, and I've also enclosed the whole area with some of the wooden fencing because I feel like that works nicely. At the back, I've done a little bit of a shed slash kind of workspace area with the building blocks. What I wanted to do here was like kind of figure out a way to make sort of like a statement piece at the back of the farm plot, and I think this is a good way to go. If you wanted to do this style, you could switch it out. You could put a pavilion there, maybe with some crafting machines, maybe even a little kind of harvest house would look cute as well as like the farmer's shed. And in there is some little just decor pieces that kind of fit with the whole farming vibe. There is some flowers and things out front just to add some pop of color. The entrance into the area also has a little bit of detail, which I'm sure if you were to do this, you could make it look even better. But I think that the garden trellis is a nice piece and it works nicely here. Again, I would add in lots more trees, lots more foliage if I was to do this in an actual kind of whole plot setup. But I do like the way that it looks. I like how uniformed it is. It did take a little while to get everything lined up exactly how I wanted to, but I did find the best way to do it was to place the plots as you're placing the path, because then you can get things lined up really nicely, because I did have a bit of difficulty making the paths fit around the plots themselves evenly, but in the end it did work out okay. It just took a little bit of patience. So there we go, there is a nice uniformed grid layout. For my fourth design, I wanted to play around with shape a little more, so I decided to create more of a circular farm. Now it's not totally a circle, but it does have a little bit of a curvature to it. This uses 9 plots, but because of the slight movement of the plots, it does allow for a little gap in the center from the middle plot, which I've decorated with some fencing and of course flowers. Originally, I wanted to place a nice big tree in the middle and have it all decorated, but I decided, because I want to make use of the plots, I decided to add another one in the center. Because of this, I thought you could have an apple tree there just to give it some height, but I think if you wanted to decorate in the center or maybe have an apple tree, either one would look great. Around the edges, I wanted to use some of the fencing to help shape the plots, but in the end I went with these planters using the fences and the trees. At each opening, I wanted to add the trellises, so you kind of snake around the path however you like. You could join them up totally to have another circle there, that would look pretty cool, or you could just build it off into different ways. And if you just want one entry, you could adjust that, so maybe putting fences instead of having trellises all the way around. Because I wanted to be able to see the center of the crops, I decided to rotate the little crop boxes and then just add some flowers on the edges, which does add in some nice color too, but it doesn't block. Because of how tall they are, it doesn't kind of block the whole area, so you can still see it. I do highly recommend playing around with the shape a little bit when you're placing your plots, especially if you're bored of having a square farm. And finally, we have a pretty basic setup for my final farm. This is on my witchy plot, and I wanted to show how much just decorating around the edges of your farm area can really help elevate it. There is obviously a ton of different ways you can do this, but this is how I did it to try and tie in everything here. This layout uses 8 squares, and in the center I decided to add the well, which you can buy from Ashura's Meadow store. Not only is the well super functional and makes watering my crops so much easier, I think it's a really nice addition and just ties in with the whole farming feel. I was definitely inspired for this after seeing Horrible Gaming's farm, so props to Nora. Because of the size of the well, you can also squeeze in a few flowers on the edges, which just adds another little nice pop of colour here and there. Around the main area of the plot, I have mixed some different foliage, including flowers, bushes, and a few trees at different sizes. There is also a wooden border around the farm using the wooden pieces from the Spring Fever set, which again is just a nice little detail. To break up the foliage, I've also placed some farm-related items. I've tried to scatter in a few kind of different purple pieces, like the stools with the foliage on top, that little nice, I don't know what it's actually called, but the pot with the leaves in. I just like the way that it looks, but I've also kind of tried to contrast those pieces with some more functional things, such as the preserves creator and also a chest for easy access, because that is a game changer as well for like putting seeds, grabbing seeds, so you don't have to trek across your plot. Everything here obviously has a strong colour theme. As I said, I want to tie it into the rest of my plot, so I've really tried to achieve that with the flowers and the furniture. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that one too. So there we have it. There are 5 different ways to decorate your farm. I hope you enjoyed looking at these, and I hope they've given you some inspiration. Please let me know what you've done with your farm in the comments. I cannot wait to hear about them. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.